Hi cuties. So as of late, I have been eyeballs deep into my monitor playing Kronos: The New Dawn. Now, this is Bloober Team's latest horror game after their incredibly successful Silent Hill 2 remake that proved they can actually make a good horror video game, y'all. I mean, I wasn't a fan of much of their earlier stuff, but the love and care they dumped into Silent Hill 2 showed me they truly do have what it takes. That's why when they announced Kronos shortly after, I was excited to dive in because they forced me at gunpoint to be a fan. I mean, Kronos is coming just a single year after the Silent Hill 2 remake, so I assume they were cooking on it at the same time, which is just super cool. Regardless, what they made this time around is on a different side of the survival horror spectrum, as it deals with sci-fi retro futuristic themes. You bounce back and forth between the 80s and the past, and back to the future, no pun intended. Before I start yapping about how much I'm loving this game, let me just tell you guys I am not going to spoil anything major in terms of the story. I just want to discuss the things that I'm enjoying and not enjoying. And as far as the basic premise goes, you play as this woman named the Traveler, and your goal is to collect essences from people in the past and then bring them to the future. I will let you play the game to see how the harvesting of an essence is done, but yeah, as you go along, you collect more essences, and you're sort of haunted by their memories and such, and the whispering in your ear gets super creepy, once again likening itself to Dead Space, by the way. I don't want to say too much about the story itself, but there are some really cool cutscenes as well, and there are dialogue options too, but I'm not sure yet if they do anything because I haven't beat it, but I am close. One more thing before we get started as well, I'm going to compare this to Dead Space a lot because just look at it. So I mean, fair warning, I guess. But let's just get into the gameplay and stuff. Firstly, the presentation is remarkable here. The first few areas and sections are these dilapidated apartment building ruins that totally gave me Woodside apartment vibes, I hate to say it. But you'll be walking around reading notes, and the environmental storytelling is awesome. They really paint the picture of what happened to this Polish town that was hit with a virus plague thing. There's a lot of references to our most recent Rona epidemic, you know, so I mean, I'm sure they were thinking about that when developing this game. The puzzle solving isn't anything that's gonna create new wrinkles in your brain, but it's engaging enough to keep you interested. It's got the classic horror game essential tropes like the bolt cutters and reading notes so you can find safe codes or whatnot. You get this tool as well that allows you to shift the environment around to navigate through areas you couldn't otherwise, which is super duper cool. Sometimes it's for the story, and other times you can access hidden areas for extra loot and whatnot. The loot you find could be resources for crafting or currency to help upgrade your character at a workbench. You can tinker with your weapon's damage, you can upgrade your suit, it's got all that stuff. The puzzles are serviceable here, but I just love a good old note reading session in my horror video game, so I am all for it personally. I just love how the character will log things to herself out loud, which is reminiscent of Returnal for me personally. It's not all doom and gloom too. The game has really good dry humor sometimes, and there are cats. I fucking love cats, y'all. Cat. Now, the combat. It's not the crispiest I've ever experienced, don't get me wrong, and I would say the series it takes inspiration from actually does feel better to play, but Kronos does some cool shit of its own here. The heaviness from the shooting really does feel similar to Silent Hill 2's remake. I mean, they both use Unreal Engine 5, so that makes sense. But the difference is these weapons can be charged up for a more powerful shot. You have to be precise because the charge cannot be cancelled, so you gotta time it and line your shots up perfectly. A nicely timed, well-placed shot on the dome ski can completely stun log enemies, even some of the bigger, scarier ones. You know how games will have like a certain catchphrase to describe the game or like a mantra of sorts you hear throughout it? Would you kindly from BioShock, for those who come after in Expedition 33, cut off their limbs in Dead Space. Well, here it's don't let them merge, because if you don't burn an enemy after killing them using your suit's flamethrower, the enemies will suck up into the other one and become bigger, faster, stronger, and of course spookier. It really is something you have to be strategic about because you can only hold so many flame ammunition things, and these motherfuckers are super tough the more they evolve. The difficulty is actually something a lot of people have been complaining about that I've seen on the internet, but I think it's perfect. You know, I wouldn't want this shit to be a walk in the park. I think games are scarier when you know it only takes a few licks to get mollywopped. But yeah, the merging and burning bodies mechanic are super cool. I always love the burning of the bodies and Evil Within and whatnot, so it's nice to see here too. The melee animations are very janky, very stiff, and to be quite honest, I feel like they're pretty useless. The stomp is cool, shout out Dead Space once again, but the difference is you don't really use it as much here, and stomping a corpse doesn't shit out any loot like Dead Space, so I haven't found much use for it personally. They do the classic video game thing of leaving little flame barrels and red explosive ones for you to shoot, you know, conveniently placed perfectly to blow them up, but I like it, it's trivial and cute. Yeah, if you're familiar with Dead Space's combat, just imagine it being a little bit more slower and you gotta be more meticulous, like the Silent Hill 2 remake, because I'm telling you, that truly is the best way to put it. It's not zippy and responsive. You really do feel like you're in a gigantic, bulky-ass spacesuit wading through disgusting biomass areas. Real quick, I just have to discuss the performance. It's something I have to talk about because this is like the 4th Unreal Engine 5 game I've played in a row, and it's making me want to cry, y'all. I guess you can take whatever I'm about to say with a grain of salt because of that, but man, these traversal stutters in Unreal Engine 5 games are really starting to get to me. I get good frames even on higher settings, and everything else feels well optimized here. But bro, those invisible loading screens when you walk through them that freeze your game are so immersion breaking. It was in Silent Hill 2's remake as well, and to be quite honest, it is better here, but I don't know what else to do about it besides complain. It's not horrendous by any means. I mean, the game is 100% playable, and it runs good even on lower hardware I've seen, but these little freezes are just so frustrating, it takes you out the experience. At this point, I don't know if it's the devs or Unreal Engine 5, but I figured I had to say something about it to y'all because I know a lot of people find it refund worthy. Not me, but that's my warning to y'all. Like I said though, everything else runs great. I play on high settings, I'm easily getting over 120 frames most of the time, and it feels responsive, so that's the most important thing to me at least. I realize I haven't even talked about the horror itself in a horror video game, and I mean, it's okay here. I am a seasoned vet to this genre, so I'm pretty hard to scare at this point I think, but it hasn't really been too horrifying. A few jump scares have got me, but nothing that feels remarkable or all that memorable. I mean, the atmosphere is spooky, and the lack of music helps build tension, but that's really it. It actually is a shame that they don't play as much music because, as we all know, some of the best music in gaming history is from spooky games. There's a cute save room jingle at least, which is needed for sure. But yeah, all in all, I'm really liking what Kronos the New Dawn is doing here. When it comes to Bloober team, they have been known to wear their influences on their sleeves, and it's kind of what made me dislike them for quite some time. I mean, did y'all even play Blair Witch? Because I did and I fell asleep, I'm gonna be real. But this team really just seems like horror game fanatics, and I love that they didn't give up and had the opportunity to finally show off their talent in this way. They can continue making these original action horror games now that they've gotten experience with Silent Hill 2's remake, and that's just awesome to me. We need more original IPs in the horror space because if not, all we have to look forward to are Resident Evil, Silent Hills, and maybe a breakout indie game here and there. Kronos obviously takes inspiration from a few different titles, but I find it to be super endearing, and they have enough of their own originality here, especially with the unique and riveting narrative. And they somehow managed to squeeze this visually impressive game down to like 20 gigabytes. How the fuck is that possible? I know I've mentioned Dead Space 14 times already at this point, but this really does feel like a true successor to those games, not Callisto Protocol. I cannot wait to go back and beat it after all this yapping, and that's what I'm gonna go do now, okay? Let me know what y'all are thinking about this game down below though. Are you picking it up, or perhaps will you be on Silksong for the next month? Talk to me. That's really about it though, y'all. Love ya.